Hey, what's up guys? So in this video, we're going to go over all of the new and recently updated radar detectors. Now, the last video that we did like this was back in May, and since then, a lot of stuff has happened. We've had a number of new radar detectors come out. We've had a lot of updates to existing radar detectors. We've had not only manufacturer updates, but also third-party firmwares available for some of these detectors. We've got a lot of discounts to talk about, both current stuff and things coming out next month. We've got a lot of updates to laser jammers, more than usual, including both laser jammer updates, new of them coming out, things happening with current ones. So I want to give you a quick update about that. And then I also want to talk about something pretty interesting, not only radar detectors, but also police car detectors that people are working on too. And so with that said, let's dive right into this. So starting off, let's begin with Whistler. Whistler has just released the new Titan, which for the first time is actually a high-end radar detector here available from Whistler. It's got long-range performance, much better blind spot filtering, it's got GPS lockouts and photo radar detection, and it addresses some of the annoyances from the previous generation detectors too. And so this new detector, it's now available. It retails for $349, and I've got a full review available both on YouTube here as well as over on my website. And I'll link to that as well as everything else that I talk about here down in this video. There's going to be quite a few links. I'll link to all of those things down underneath the like button. Next, there's the brand new Escort Max 360C Mark II. This is an upgraded version of the original Max 360C, but it adds the internals from the new MaxCam 360C. And this upgraded platform that they're using here is going to also add longer range and better false alert filtering. Plus, they've also added 5 GHz Wi-Fi as well for compatibility with newer Wi-Fi hotspots. It retails for $699 and it's available for purchase now. Now, mine is actually going to be delivered today at the time I'm shooting this video, so by the time you guys see it, this week I'm going to be spending time testing out this new detector and posting updates here on YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed to learn more about this new detector. Now, the original Max 360C has had an update as well. It's firmware version 1.14. Now, Escort hasn't stated what the improvements and changes are, but there was an update that's come out for the original Max 360C as well. Then the MaxCam 360C, that's been updated to firmware version 1.7. And I go over all the information about this update on my website. And in this update, we've got things like some stability improvements to fix some issues like the lockup bug that I'd been encountering. There's Wi-Fi connectivity improvements, and now it can also properly display the speed limit when you're connected over Wi-Fi. The Drive Smarter app can now control more of the dash cam settings available in the MaxCam. And if you want to update your MaxCam, just make sure it's connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot and it can go out and check for the latest update and download it to your detector. Next, moving on to Uniden. Now, I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for the updates for these detectors, like to enable Bluetooth, for example, for the R4 and the R8. I have no idea when it's going to be coming out, and in fact, some of the detectors, like the R3, for example, new detectors that you buy online, it's actually shipping with newer firmware than what you can get available for download on Uniden's website. I have no idea when current firmware will be available for download either. It's kind of a weird situation, but that's, I guess, the latest with Uniden. We're all just kind of waiting for this sort of stuff. Now, that said, there's also new firmware that's currently in beta testing for the Uniden R7. Now, I've done a video in the past talking about the custom international firmware that you can download for the R7, and the developer, Mitharu, is actually working on a custom firmware specifically for those of us here in North America. Now, I've been running it for the past maybe week or two or so, and I've really been liking it. The two biggest improvements are things like auto mode to vary the detector sensitivity based on speed, a lot like we have with the R8, as well as some additional K-blocks, 5 K-blocks to be specific, to help block out some BSMs from some additional cars that the stock Uniden firmware can't do. Now, I don't know how much it's going to cost for this custom firmware or when it's going to be available for download, but all the discussion you can check out on the forum, and I'll link to that down below as well. Now, as far as price changes, we've been seeing the Uniden R4, for example, is finally back up to MSRP typically at $449. However, at the time that I'm shooting this video, on Uniden's website, it's available now for $379. And you can also pick it up refurbished for $329 if you like. And so I know the pricing for this kind of stuff can change pretty frequently, but I've been continuing to update the deals page over on my website that keeps you guys posted as far as any sales or discounts on different radar detectors, different laser jammers, or different dash cams. And all that you can check out at vortexradar.com/deals. Additionally, do you guys remember Amazon Prime Day? Well, coming up here in October, they're going to be doing a similar sale called the Prime Early Access Sale. It's basically designed to give us early access to some of the holiday discounts. Now, over the years for Prime Day and Black Friday and all these kind of sales, we've typically seen some deals for radar detectors and typically more for dash cams. And once this Prime Early Access sale goes live, I'll be keeping you guys posted just like we always do as far as YouTube videos and updates over on my website. That's going to be running October 11th and 12th, and so I'll be keeping you guys posted when that goes live too. Next, moving on to laser jammers. Let's start off with the ALP. The AntiLaser Priority has been updated to version 5.6.8/9.4. And this is going to give us some under the hood improvements. We've got some laser scanner support improvements. And then also when you pull a stats file, it can now also identify if you're using TX blackheads. So basically just make sure you keep your ALP updated to ensure that it can jam all the latest guns. Additionally, I've been seeing a lot of people work on custom 3D printed components and mounts for the ALP. People have been working on different module holders to hold all the different components together. People have been making special mounts to hold the control pad and a cup holder, or even different head mounts to install and secure the heads inside a variety of different vehicles. Some of these mount directly to your car, others would mount directly to a license plate bracket. And if any of this stuff looks like it would be a good fit for you, you can also head over to the different Thingiverse pages for all these different components and print them out yourself. If you're handy with 3D printing and modeling, you can also create different parts and post them up on the forum as well. Again, it's a big collaboration that a lot of people are putting together, and that's kind of like the central location. I'll link to this as well, to where you can go and check out all the different components, add your own, or download them yourself as needed. Next, moving on to TMG. So TMG has had 2 different updates. We had firmware version 8.15 as well as firmware version 8.16. And these improvements will do things like improve the laser jamming capabilities of the TMG. Now the TMG, we have been discovering a variety of issues. I've had 3 CPUs die with TMG, and there's other things that you need to know about as well if you're considering that system or if you already have it. I have an entire article over on my website that I posted about 3 months ago that goes over kind of what you need to know and how to have a good experience with the TMG. And since then, well, a lot more has happened. I've done some videos talking about it, but let's actually give you guys the latest information. So first off, the US distributor is no longer with TMG, and so he's actually selling off his company over on his website, in case any of you guys are interested. And since he was the sole distributor of TMG in the US, it does mean that you can currently no longer buy TMGs. That does look to be changing though. You see, TMG is working now to get new distributors on board, and it looks like this time they're actually going to have multiple distributors, not just one. For example, Jazzy366 on RDF has mentioned that he's going to be one of the upcoming new distributors for TMG. And then as far as customer service, if you have any issues, you can actually reach out to Ming directly in Taiwan. It will take a little bit more time, and also if you need to ship back any damaged parts, you're going to want to now mail them back to Taiwan instead of here in the US. Additionally, the current generation of TMG CPUs have some issues with Bluetooth connectivity, and if you're encountering that too, you can now mail your CPU over to TE37 on RDF, and he's offering a service where he can solder and cut the CPU to fix the Bluetooth features. Now, doing this will void your warranty, but it is still an option. Next, it also looks like there's going to be a new CPU and another new generation of heads coming out, now specifically the hardware for heads for the TMG. There's not a ton of details about this yet, but I'm hopeful that it can improve reliability, hopefully it can improve performance, and hopefully that it can fix some of these Bluetooth issues finally. I'm not a huge fan of continuing to have these parts die and be replaced. Custom installed stuff is not always easy to replace, especially the heads and whatnot. But I'm really hopeful that finally this time they have everything really locked down and nailed. Next, let's talk about the Adaptiv TPX. So they make the motorcycle-specific laser jammer, and now they've actually released an automotive version of their laser jammer as well. It's almost the same idea, just with a couple minor updates, specifically to have this installed now on cars, trucks, and SUVs. You can check out my full review of the system, again, both on YouTube or over on my website. And with TMG having a variety of issues, I think the TPX is now going to be the pick as far as your best affordable laser jamming system. And then finally, the last thing to talk about, you know how a lot of times we're having to say that police radar detectors are not police car detectors, they're radar detectors, right? Which is why they're only going to work if police are actually transmitting radar in the moment, and also why they false to other sources of radar that aren't necessarily police radar. Well, it looks like somebody's now actually working on a police car detector. It's called the Sherlock police detector. It looks a lot like a custom installed radar detector to where you have a big antenna that you can install in your car, one in the front and a second one in the rear if you like. Plus it's got a display option as well. But fundamentally the idea is it's actually going to be looking for some of the emissions coming out of police cars, not just radar, but just emissions that are on the whole times. And so it should effectively be a police car detector. Now it's still really early. There's very limited information about it yet, but for those of you guys who live in Roswell, Georgia, or in the area, you can actually head on over there to get a demo and try it out. If you find it works, let me know. I know it's still very much in active development. They're still training it to detect a variety of different police cars, but that does look to be something pretty cool that if it works, that could be a pretty cool option too. You can check out both the website for the police detector, as well as all the discussion happening on the forum. The creator of the police detector is also there too, answering some questions. Understandably, a lot of people are very skeptical, so we're still learning about it, figuring out if it works, as well as how well it works, what situations can it work on, and where does it not work. So we're all still very much figuring that out, but it seemed to be something pretty cool that I just wanted to quickly share with you guys as well. And that, again, just like everything else, I'll link down in the video description as well. And so, yeah, a lot of stuff to go over. Radar detectors, laser jammers, and now maybe even police car detectors too. And so, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are all doing great, and I'll see you in the next video.